as to who I am, who is speaking to you. Google already mentioned that I'm his predecessor. I was ICB chair for the years 2022 and 2023. Before that, I was customer support TL. There was a transition period for membership as well, but I initially joined ICB as a BD coach at the time when we still had it as clusters and not regions. But my ECB and ICB experience started off with me as ECB chair of ISEC in Finland in the term 1920. But currently, following my ISEC experience, I am a training. While you let that sink in, just to break the ice a little and so that we have a bit of a discussion, you can feel free to open your mic to do this or in the chat. Think about any possible case where the ECB was not present or unresponsive. Your case. What are the potential risks or consequences that you think might have occurred in that particular instance? To get this person to go and exchange, you will say all the beautiful things on earth to convince this person to go. But do we actually do what we say we are going to do? And how do we hold ourselves accountable to that which we promise? And how do we assist our entities to ensure that they also remain accountable? We'll move on to the evolution of ECB. I would like to coin it as the Big Bang theory of ECB. So ISEC, I don't know what the context is now, because it's been close to a year since I've been out of the organization in this session. What will your contribution be through your current role? But still wanted to share as well. And I do hope that with all the sessions that are upcoming that you're going to have, you will feel rejuvenated and you will feel empowered for you to be able to move forth and do it with a fresh breath of air. But
Yep. Sorry?
yeah, it's not visible. But I have this red cup here that I got from Google in 2022, 3, was it? Yeah, he brought it from Brazil, and I've never lost it since. It says Bache Porto Alegre Afude. I don't know what that means, but I just love it. So I'll begin my session. The first session for today, as Guga has mentioned, is Essence. And just to give a quick introduction as to who I am, who is speaking to you, Guga already mentioned that I'm his predecessor. I was ICB chair for the years 2022 and 2023. Before that, I was customer support TL. There was a transition period for membership as well, but I initially joined ICB as a BD coach at the time when we still had it as clusters and not regions. But my ECB and ICB experience started off with me as ECB chair of ISEC in Finland in the term 1920. But currently, following my ISEC experience, I am a training administrator at ProLearn. It's a training institute. We teach people or corporates soft skills on different issues like emotional intelligence, financial literacy, and so on. I am also president of an NGO that we started while I was still in ISEC, which helps students transition to universities abroad. In terms of the agenda, it's in 3 parts. So this is in 3 parts. I will start off with my encounter with ECB, the evolution of ECB, and then finally the ECB and quality management. Starting off, just to give a bit of a context, my encounter with ECB, or the first time I even heard about it, was when we had a crisis with a realized EP. So this was an EP that we had sent to India at the time, and our LCP came, we discussed, I was VP I was VP Talent Management at the time. And we were discussing how to deal with this issue. And she later on said, oh, but we have an ECB chair who deals with cases. So all in all, all we knew about this person is that they're just there to solve cases. But I want you to think about a particular scenario. So what if in that particular instance or case that we had, the ECB chair or team was unreachable? The ECB chair didn't understand their role, or the team didn't understand, or they could not provide a solution for the EP. Also remembering that this was an urgent issue that we had to deal with, and thinking about the possible risks that could have impacted the EP. While you let that sink in, just to break the ice a little and so that we have a bit of a discussion, you can feel free to open your mic to do this or in the chat. Think about any possible case where the ECB was not present or unresponsive. Your case, what are the potential risks or consequences that you think might have occurred in that particular instance? You can open your mic, feel free to speak, type in the chat. But think about any, whether you were in ECB, whether you were a TL, VP, whatever, in your entire ISEC experience, in this particular instance, what can you say about this?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, we had a case actually. We were recently frozen, not recently, but our operations didn't know that they shouldn't run while they were frozen. So we had an applicant that was going to Tanzania. And although this applicant was going to Tanzania, Tanzania couldn't also approve, and they were also frozen. So we actually tried contacting the ECB from there, but they were quite unresponsive. And because of that, our EP kind of was becoming a detractor because he already had paid for his flight ticket. He had already invested in all the costs that are necessary to travel. But yeah, he was becoming a detractor. As a solution, we tried contacting ICB, we sent the email and all the process, but in the end we could, the LCs were able to pay the EP through some debt that they acquired from the MC, but they were able to pay the EP. Yeah, but as a problem that might have arrived from that, if you weren't able to lend the money to the LC to pay the EP, he would have become a detractor, and a detractor with reason. He could also process us as Isaac in Mozambique for promoting something that we weren't running. And yeah, that would have been a very, very bad, very, very bad situation. So that's the sharing that I have.
Thank you so much, Jose. Am I pronouncing it right?
Right? Yeah.
All right. So, like
You're
everybody
pronouncing it
has
right.
heard after his sharing, he says that the person will become a detractor. And with issues of word of mouth, it's very easy for not just that one person to become a detractor, but even more people. And it also causes confusion within the entity with the people that need assistance from you as an ECB, because they're unsure about how to deal with the situation. And in most cases, people just end up doing what the EP wants, right? I have another one in the chat. It says, I think there would be peaks with terrible experiences and total confusion of the EPs in times of urgency. And that's completely true. Because remember as well that as all of this is happening, that individual is completely in the dark. They also don't know what they need to do. They don't know what kind of solution they're going to be given, and so on and so forth. Another one here says the EP will have a better experience and will affect the ISEC exchange products in the long run. And that's also true. just from that one person that you could have assisted in the right manner, you then have a ripple effect and multiple negative effects in the future. So, another one. Chair irresponsive or not presenting and can get strikes and welcome dismissal protocol, which can affect the entity negatively, especially if the chair has ECB team there works effect negatively on that entity. So we can all see that by that lack of response or your lack of knowledge in knowing how to do things or how to proceed with things can have such negative effects that impact multiple people in the long run. So one thing that I want to bring to you now is through effective governance, we ensure customer centricity, which we'll talk about more as the session goes on. But when we think about customer centricity, what is it really in our context, in the context of ISEC? It's prioritizing the needs and experiences of EPs above all else. Literally above everything. You prioritize their needs, their experiences, and this involves creating a culture within the organization where every decision and action is guided by the goal of providing exceptional value and satisfaction to those who participate in these ISEC programs. So by you trying to implement all of these systems, trying to ensure that people comply, that is a culture that you are also participating or assisting in forming in your entity. If your entity, for example, is not doing exchanges in the right way, is not prioritizing the best experiences possible for the EP, it breeds a particular culture. And at the end of the day, it becomes a norm that people do. Like, oh no, it's fine if we do this, it's not a big deal, right? And when we look at the aspects of customer centricity, there are four things that I want to bring or share with you, which is the first one, active listening. Do you actually listen to your EPs? Do you actually understand what they actually want? And are you accountable? In the promises that we make to each and every exchange participant, yes, we will develop your leadership, we will do this, you will have the best experience, because at the time when you're trying to get this person to go and exchange, you will say all the beautiful things on earth to convince this person to go. But do we actually do what we say we are going to do? And how do we hold ourselves accountable to that which we promise? And how do we assist our entities to ensure that they also remain accountable? Continuous improvement in each and every process that we do, or in the context of your entity, whatever the context may look like. Do you actually try to see where the issues are and find ways to ensure that as time goes on, you try to eliminate some of those negative behaviors that people do when they're performing their work in your entity or not? Are you data-driven in your decision-making? There's a lot of data that we collect in ISEC. There's spreadsheets from, I don't know how many spreadsheets we do and we're tracking all these experiences and everything, but does it actually come into play when we are actually having discussions with other stakeholders like our MC, the LCPs, or anybody that you deal with in the work that you do? We'll move on to the evolution of ECB. I would like to coin it as the Big Bang theory of ECB. So ISEC, I don't know what the context is now, because it's been close to a year since I've been out of the organization. But post-COVID, we all know that exchanges, the numbers dropped because of the restrictions and travel and everything. ISEC used to make exchanges in huge numbers. And there was a particular point where the numbers were just going up. Like people were going on exchanges like crazy. So with this increase in the number of exchanges, ISEC needed to ensure the quality experience of the EP. At a certain point before we had ECBs, this was the responsibility of MC. So somebody would be there, or the MCP or whoever, responsible for essentially what you're doing now and ensuring that. But ISEC realized that this is not the way to go. We probably need to have an independent body that will focus solely on those issues to deal with the multiple quality cases that we have that need to be solved. But in addition to ensuring customer centricity, and this was with the evolution or change from XPP to APIP, we then evolved as control boards to now support the governance of the entire ISEC portfolio. And when you look at the governance structure of ISEC at entity level, it begins with the national plenary, where you have all these partners or stakeholders working together to ensure the governance, be it the MC or external bodies or boards, for example, the ECB, EFB, and subcommittees that you have in your entities, depending on the context that you have. Going on to the ECB and quality management aspect of things. What are we saying about the quality management of our operations? It's the systemic process of ensuring that ISEC programs meet or exceed the expectations of the EP. So from the beginning of this session, there are two words that you kept on hearing me saying repeatedly, which is governance, which is customer centricity. And those are things that you can't take away from who we are. We are independent bodies. We are independent bodies that are responsible for the governance of the ISEC portfolio. We are responsible for ensuring customer centricity, and we are ensuring the experience of the EP, and we're ensuring that each and everything that we do, that we promise, we do it in the right manner. And in that case, we actually contribute towards developing leadership, which is what we strive for. So one question that you ask yourself, or that you need to ask yourself, is, with all these cases, with all the cases that you probably have within your entities, the bad, the ugly, the worst, because there's a whole lot that happens in ISEC as a global organization. The question then becomes, how are we saying we are providing quality experiences if all these issues and all these things are actually coming into play? And going back to the structure that I was talking about, when we look at the governance structure, yes, you're responsible for ensuring the governance of the ISEC portfolio, but you're not doing it alone. You cannot do it alone. There are multiple things that are beyond your control, and you need the active participation and partnership with each and everyone that you deal with in order for you to be able to achieve what it is that you want to achieve in your entity. So with quality management, we ensure that we are ensuring compliance. Compliance to what? We have legal documents that have been put in place, the APIP, AAPP, protocols in place, guidelines to ensure that there is a certain procedures or way of doing things. Why do we even have this document? It is to ensure that in everything that everybody does, whether you are in ISEC in Brazil, ISEC in Guatemala, ISEC in South Africa, everybody is doing things in the exact same way that they should be done under the ISEC brand, because at the end of the day, we are all one thing. Monitoring of processes. Do you actually, in your work as MC, as ECB, look into the way things are being done into your entity and improve those processes? Do you actually monitor and see where things are going wrong and being able to deal with them, which speaks to identifying and addressing issues that you might see in your entity? So that is the aspect of quality management that we are talking about when we say you ensure the governance, you ensure customer centricity. But let's look at the bigger picture. And let's ask ourselves, by doing all of these things, what are we actually trying to achieve as ECBs, and with the stakeholders that we have. First is the reduction in quality case costs. There's nothing as painful for an entity having sent out people, received that revenue that you would have gotten from them, the exchange fees, and then you ultimately have to take a portion of that back to the EP. And if you look at the number of cases, yes, there are easy cases that you can solve, but there are those that require money. Imagine having to cover flight costs and everything for people for a mistake or something that actually could have been prevented. You strengthen the ISEC reputation. When we started off in this session, we were talking about the potential risks or consequences of either an ECB not being there or an ECB not fulfilling their role in the way that they should. And in ensuring that you give people positive experiences, which is another one, it ultimately leads to strengthening the ISEC reputation. Nobody wants to be hearing, for example, as an ISEC, exchange participants complaining about the organization, going on social media and talking about it and all of those things, right? We ensure the leadership development. We ensure that through our mission in ISEC, we ensure that there's that compliance, that which we want to see, that with each and every process that needs to be done throughout the entire customer journey, that everybody will do their part in the way that they should. And ultimately, because of the ISEC way and the way that we say we want to do things, or this is how we do things, and this is our value proposition, therefore, we will contribute towards leadership development. And of course, improved operational efficiency all the way from LC level. That's why we're here. That's why we exist. And that's why we will continue to exist as ECBs or control boards moving forward. That is how important your role is within the organization. And this is the contribution that you are actually making towards your entity by fulfilling your role. ISEC programs might change over time. And I'm guessing for people who have been in ISEC or have known about ISEC for as far back as 2015 or before that, the program names change, new programs come, they're modified, and so on and so forth. But the role of ECB remains the same, and that is to ensure sustainability of the organization in general, ensuring that years to come, there will still be an ISEC, ensuring that years to come, we will still continue to develop leadership. And not only the external leadership itself, but I don't know if you've thought about this, in giving guidance to the people within your entity on the right way of doing things, you are indirectly also developing them to become better leaders, for them to be able to know how to do things and the right way to do things. Most of us, when we leave ISEC, it's very easy for you to tell somebody who was in ISEC who had this kind of experience as a member over somebody who was just in university and didn't do anything. It's evident in the way we do things, even when we get into the job market later on. So with this, I just like to bring that shift in perspective to say, you're not just through what you're doing, imparting or supporting or developing the leadership of the people that we call exchange participants or our customers, but also the internal customers who are members in ISEC. Just a couple of, sometime 2 weeks ago, I think, I also saw a post from on LinkedIn. I think it was Victoria who was talking about the transition from her role or understanding as a psychologist and now knowing things that are related to audit and so on. Where did audits come from? Who does the audits? We do. So, in closing, I just like you to be free and share your truth with everything that has been said, with the different perspective that has been brought onto the table today in this session. What will your contribution be through your current role? Again, you can type, you can open your mic. I'll open this question also to the current ICB team, if anybody wants to share. Yes, ECB Chair Germany.
Hi everyone. I'm Leman.
Hello.
I wanted to answer this question from my point of view, let's say. At first, I would really love to, during my term, to contribute in my team, my ECB team, and their development, let's say, because when they have elected as a ECB member, most of them didn't have great expectations from ECB because they were not so aware of it. But my goal is, especially in the national two in Germany, to raise the awareness about ECB, because I believe people outside of the ECB, most of the time, they don't know what actually we are doing and what actually we're standing for. Yes, my main, I think, contribution would be raise the awareness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love that one. Awareness. You're working with people, but they don't know what you're there for. I mean, that was my case, as I shared earlier on, when I was still in LCVP. I have another one. I have some in the chat here. I hope that my contribution will be that we can enhance our CS processes and deliver the best experience. Beautiful. And the other one is I want to build a strong structure for ECB in my entity to build on the importance of ECB and build pipeline. Thank you so much for those answers. And one thing that I had always said is context matters. Like your context as Isaac in Finland or Isaac in Germany or Isaac in Montenegro. Okay, there's no Isaac in Montenegro anymore. Will never be the same. So it's even evident in the answers that you're giving because it shows that you're contextualizing your truth, your story, your reality, and saying, okay, in my current role, given the time that I have, this is what I want to do. As the ICB audit and compliance responsible for MIA and ECB ODTL, I really want to revolve around ensuring effective audit and compliance processes in the MIA region. I work closely with my beautiful synergy to meet deadlines, resolve issues, and improve entity performance. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I would like to think that my contribution will create better processes for the entity and the understanding of all the documents that are required, being able to have a tremendous ECB team and many applications for the ECB chair. Yes, you need those. Polish the framework and pass on to the successors. Lovely. leave a legacy of ECB in Panama, improving audit processes and educating the national plenary. These are all wonderful answers, and I do know that there are even more people that probably were not able to share, but still wanted to share as well. And I do hope that with all the sessions that are upcoming that you're going to have, you will feel rejuvenated and you will feel empowered for you to be able to move forth and do it with a fresh breath of air. Thank you so much for your participation in this session. And with that, I would like to say goodbye and enjoy the rest of your VICO day.